Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 205, Talladega Nights, the Ballad of Ricky Bobby from 2006. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode is brought to you by Jacob Companies. It's woman-owned, and it's nationally certified, multifaceted construction firm with a focus on construction design, build services, structural concrete, and all that good stuff. But in 2019, Jacob's Company has announced that they partnered with Rick Ware Racing to fund their new NASCAR in a multi-layered partnership. So, shout out to Jacob Companies.
Well, shout out to them. After the break, we will be talking with Brian Late Night Slumber Party Rodriguez once again about Talladega Nights. But Joe, extracurricular activities, what have you been up to since we last spoke?
Hockey season started, so that was big for me. I'm really excited for that. The Penguins played in the opening night game. They played against Tampa Bay Lightning. Half the team is dead right now, and they somehow won. So that was really awesome to watch last night. That's what I've been most hype about. We did our fantasy hockey draft, so we're all into that right now. But I have a funny story that I already told you, but I'm gonna tell again because I thought it was really funny. We've been watching some scary movies because it's spooky season, whatever. So we watched The Night House, which was surprisingly deceptive in its title. It really wasn't about a night house at all. And I don't know if you saw the trailer in theaters, but it kind of made it look like, there's this reverse house. There's this lady and her husband was building a mirrored image of her house for some reason. Movie's pretty much not about that at all.
This is on my list to see. I've heard good things about this, but I've not seen it yet.
It's pretty good. It's pretty, yeah. I'm going to jokingly say the movie is very, very good for your taste. But I'm not going to tell you why, and I'm sure you'll guess when you start watching it. It was good, but it wasn't about the night house. They pitched it as there's a mirror house, and it's not. So we watched that. That was pretty good. Then yesterday we were watching Candyman.
The new one.
The new one, yeah. The what Jordan Peele one.
He didn't direct it. He might have produced it.
He wrote it, and he's a producer on it. We're watching it. It's really good. We're going to watch half before the game, half after the game. Obviously not a spoiler, but there's a point where he's look, if you look in the mirror and say Candyman 5 times, the Candyman appears. And he's Candyman, 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 Candyman. And as he's about to hit the 5th one, my doorbell rings, and where Rachel sits on the couch, she's right by the windows were open. We didn't hear anybody come up the steps. She jumps off the couch, and it was just the solar guy coming back. He's a really nice kid, and was just hey, your panels are up and they look really good. But the timing of him hitting the doorbell on the 5th Candyman right. Saying in the movie, I could not have cued him in better if I was sitting at my phone Ben, ring the doorbell 3, 2, 1. If I would have done that, he would have been off, but he was just dead on. It was a really funny experience. She freaked out, obviously, because it's dark out, that part of the movie, quiet, the windows are open, and we don't hear any. She's sits right by the windows where the steps up to the front of the house is. So yep. For her to not hear somebody come up and then him ring the doorbell, totally freaked her out. But that was pretty much it. That's what we've been up to, and I have a fun time playing for this weekend. But that's what I've been up to. How about you, brother?
I have done nothing except watch horror movies. I haven't.
That's awesome.
This is the first weekend. Again, it's the first of 3 or 4 in a row where I have no plans. But I'm I'm not going to try to find plans. I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm just going to sit at home and watch
works. Yeah.
So Thursday night, I went to see the new Bond movie in theaters, which was great.
Everybody said it's really good, right? Everybody.
Yeah. All 5 of his, because I watched all 25 Bonds this year now. All 5 Daniel Craig ones are in my top 7.
Oh, okay.
Bond movies. I don't like most of the other ones. I do really like all 5 of these.
Okay.
It's those 5, the Lazenby one, and GoldenEye. That's my top 7. But I think I have this 3rd, and the top 3 are all Daniel Craig. I think they're just better.
Yeah.
So this one's great, really, really good. So if you like Bond, I'm sure if you've liked Bond, you would have seen this by now. But if you have not, go see it.
Yeah, my buddy Adam went to go see it in theaters last week, and he was raving about it too, and I've seen only good things.
So then on Saturday, I watched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I watched 7.5, and I finished up the eighth one on Sunday morning. But usually when I watch a bunch of movies, my hit rate for whatever reason is not very high. But this was pretty good. So I'm not going to talk about everybody, but there was a new movie that came out last year called Spontaneous. which Brian did in his now, what he's referring to as his now infamous end of the year recap, where he watched like 20 movies over the course of like a week.
Okay.
And just like had them on in the background, like all high school movies. So I had never heard, like, again, we've talked about this on here before. There's so many things to watch. It's so hard to know, like, even like someone like me, who all I do basically throughout the day is like, oh, what's this new movie? What's this new TV show? Let's just add to the list. And like my list is bigger than I'll ever get to.
Yep.
But like all I'm doing essentially is like looking for movies that I'm going to enjoy, right? And somehow this did not hit my radar at all. And the way he described it, it's about a high school where like kids are just spontaneously exploding, kind of like water balloons, but just like a bloody like explosion.
Combustion. Yeah.
The way he described it, I'm like, this sounds like something that I would love, and I had never even heard of it before.
And it's
his
fairly
episode.
new.
It came out last year, yeah.
Okay.
And I did love it. It's funny, it's gross, it's tender, it's timely, like it's really good. I think it's on, because these are all every movie that I watched, and like this weekend I think I'm gonna do it again, they're all streaming somewhere. So this one is Hulu. But I really liked it. Spontaneous was great. That was one of my favorite ones. Then I watched The Return of the Living Dead. From what I understand, and this is, I'm going to get this wrong, so I apologize in advance to anybody who actually knows this. Mike explained this because he did The Return of the Living Dead Part 3 on his podcast, but Night of the Living Dead sort of, there was George Romero, and like that kind of branched into two paths. Like there's
my friend's dad is a zombie. You can see his butt in the movie.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And so the one path followed down like Dawn of the Dead Day, or maybe Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, whatever was one, and then like it sort of split into two. I don't know exactly. Anyway, this is what I'm not sure of. I could have Googled it, whatever. But then off that became the Return of the Living Dead, which is in this world. They're like, that movie Night of the Living Dead? They're like, that was a cover up. Like that really happened, but that's not how it happened.
Oh,
and so like it's all part of the mythology or whatever. And this movie kicks so much ass. It's an 80s zombie movie. It's funny, also gross, really good. These zombies, as opposed to like the slow shambling zombies, they run, they can talk, they can use things. There is one very iconic moment, from what I gather now, where they send paramedics to like help out this thing, right? And the paramedics get killed by the zombies. And so the cops come because the paramedics have not returned or whatever. So the cops check it out, and the cops get killed. And then a zombie gets the walkie-talkie in the cop car. He just says, "Send more cops," and like more cops come, and they just kill all those cops too. Like it's just stuff like that where the zombies are like terrifying because like they can do whatever.
That is
also
crazy.
Stabbing them in the head doesn't kill them. Kind of just like burn them. It's awesome. It's so good. So The Return of the Living Dead was one of my favorite ones I watched. Then I watched a movie that I'm not going to spoil. I'm not going to even describe because we're going to do it on this show at one point called The Cars That Ate Paris, which is a horror movie that was really good from 1974. That was one that Bob recommended, so we will do that eventually on here.
Nice.
Then I watched a movie called House, which is, I think, also Hausu, Hausu. It's this Japanese horror movie from the 70s. This is one that, like, if you looked at, like, top 10 best horror lists or whatever, like, this was always one that was, like, near the top of those lists that I had never seen. It is so goddamn cool. It's so stylish. It's so insane. It's just a bunch of high school girls, I think, go to this, like, haunted house, but they don't really know that it's a haunted house. It's just one of the girls' aunts lives there. And so they go to visit her, and just like weird shit happens. And like, there's so many crazy effects, and it's all like very clearly shot in like sound stages with like weird backgrounds, but it's amazing. It's so good. It's like, it's worthy of all of the like hype around it. House really, really rules. And then on Sunday, the last like great new horror movie that I watched is a brand new one. Then I went to the theater to see Lamb, which is the new A24. So here, I'm not going to spoil this, but I will say what I tweeted, which I know you saw because you liked it. So I don't watch trailers. We talked about that.
Yeah.
It's a new, moody, atmospheric, foreign horror movie from A24. I'm like, done. Like, I don't need to know anything about it. Don't need to know who's in it. Whatever. It's all I need. So I know that there's like this lamb that this couple is like in love with. And I'm like, I don't know anything. I literally don't know anything more than that. Like, it's just like there's a baby lamb that they're carrying around. There's like an Instagram filter or whatever where like you can have the lamb in like a little like, papoose or whatever on your chest, like it's like an AR lamb. And so I go to the movies, and when like the reveal happens, because like there has to be something that happens. It can't just be like a lamb. I'm like, oh my God. Like, okay. And I kind of laugh out loud a little bit, and no one else in the theater react. I mean, there's not a lot of people there. There's like 8 or 10 people there.
Yeah.
But nobody else. So I'm like, this had to be in the trailer. And so like you watch a trailer and like you can kind of see some stuff like that. But I'm just like, oh, but like this is one that I completely just missed, and I was so relieved that I missed because I'm like, this is such a wild turn here, and
If I was ready for it, yeah.
Yeah, and like I think I liked the movie more because I didn't know. Like I've talked about here about how sometimes when I go and see, like I think a movie is going to be one thing when I don't see the trailer, and then I'm disappointed. I'm like, oh, it's rare, but it happens. And this I was like, oh no, like it would have been a movie that I liked, but I think I really really liked it because I was just like, oh, I had no idea. I'm like, because I'm thinking like, could it be? And like it was something that I wouldn't have guessed. The mind starts going after that, and then it becomes another thing altogether. So. Yeah,
Very
I
cool.
highly recommend Lamb. Lamb is cool. So, yeah. And that's it. So I'm going to do, I think, another bunch this weekend. Hopefully the hit rate will be as good. Because, again, when you watch 8, to have, like, 4 of them be, like, at least really good, if not great, that's pretty
crazy.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know how you can... Like, if I watched 8 movies in a row, the problem I would have is that they would be one movie. Like, my attention, first of all, couldn't do that, but also, like, it would just be like, oh, yeah, the movie with the zombies and the house, and it'd be like... No,
yeah, so what I try to, like, stagger them a little bit. So, like, I had, like, an animated one from the 40s into a slasher from the 80s into a new movie, into a Friday the 13th movie, into a zombie movie, into a modern movie, into an old movie, into, like, a weird foreign movie or whatever. And so, like...
They're distinctly separated.
I try. It doesn't always work, but, yeah.
That makes sense.
Because also, like, the same thing, it's like, they're all horror, but they're all different, but it's also all kind of the same in a way, so it's, but yeah. A couple of them I watched, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to remember anything about this in 3 days.
Yeah.
But even if I just watched one, right? Like, even if I just, like, watched that on a night, I'd be like, I'm going to forget this anyway, so, like,
makes sense.
It's fine. So we'll see how it goes this time. But yeah, I've gone nowhere. Oh, I have, in terms of house things...
What?
Fucking lanternflies all over the place. Do you have them up there, or have we talked about them here or no? Do you know about the lanternflies?
Are you talking about lightning bugs? I mean, I guess it's regional names. What are lanternflies versus lightning bugs?
So lanternflies are these moths with like red undersides of their wings, and there's been like news reported about them. They're like, if you see these bugs, kill these bugs.
Why? Why?
Like
do you
they
invasive species?
I don't know if they eat other bugs or they eat trees, they eat plants. They're like, these will fuck your shit up.
Okay.
And I didn't see them for a while, and then like I think they were mostly like in South Jersey, and like I don't know, like they were in a bunch of places, but whatever. Then a couple months ago, I started seeing them around here, but I would see like 1 or 2, and I would kill them. And then like a couple of weeks ago, I saw a bunch outside, like a bunch, like 5 or 6. Like they just sort of seemed to have like a small nest in front of my window. So like I would just take like a fly swatter out there and just kill these things.
Yeah.
And then I see my neighbor, who is like a greenskeeper, like he just like does like lawns around town or whatever.
Okay.
I see him outside like smushing things in my tree, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, you have these lanternflies everywhere. It's like, oh. And so I go to Home Depot and I get this like spray that you connect to the hose, and I just like douse both of my trees.
Nice.
The Home Depot people are like, I don't know, we don't know, like there's not really a thing that kills them, but like some guy says that this pretty much works. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Spray these trees down, and then I look up today, because I do it like at last night, like 7 o'clock when it's dark outside, but I'm like, the lady at Home Depot's like, do it at night, because if you do it during the day, if there's like bees around, you'll kill the bees too, and you don't want to kill the bees.
Yeah,
like,
you don't
want to kill the
bees,
lanternflies. So I looked today, and like where like the trees, like the trunks have been like covered in these fucking things, and so they're all gone. But like up the tree, there's like a bunch up there that I can't really reach.
Even with the hose?
Even with the hose, because like the hose, yes, because the issue was like it was a little windy, and so like I spray up, and because like this is like a weird adapter nozzle, it's like spraying back on me, and like I don't want chemicals on me.
Yeah.
So I call Terminix, so I come out like every quarter or whatever, because I had termites when I bought the house. Like they sprayed for termites, but then I had some kind of like carpenter ants or carpenter bees or something. So like I just have like a couple, like 4 times a year, whatever, come out and spray. It's like $100, whatever.
Okay.
So I call them and I'm like, hey, can you take care of this? They're like, we don't do it. I'm like, what? They're like, well, we don't really have, we don't do trees. We don't do tree stuff. And also there's no like proven way to kill these things. And I was like, all right. So I call my lawn company. This makes me sound really bougie. I'm not bougie. I've talked about the lawn company in here, but I'm like, oh, my bug company and my tree company. So I call the lawn company, and they're like, oh, yeah, we'll send somebody out there. Like, it's going to be a free estimate, and then we're going to figure it out. But, like, it might be too late in the year, because apparently the way that they do it, like, somehow with the tree's circulatory system, once leaves start falling, the way that a tree interacts inside changes.
Okay.
And so whatever they're going to spray it with might not work. But like, it seems like, from what I understand, it's not going to kill the tree on the first year, but it sucks. Like, it's just nightmare.
It really sucks.
But yeah, I'm surprised that I guess I'm not surprised that you don't have them, because I don't know how regional are, but I feel like people know about them. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I just didn't pay attention to them. It sounds like they're pretty terrifying things. But yeah, I didn't. I guess they're not around here because I haven't seen them.
They're indigenous to China, India, and Vietnam, and they spread invasively to Japan, South Korea, and the U.S. It flies and jumps. Yeah, it's in Pennsylvania too. Like, they're beautiful. Like, they're really nice looking moths. It's just that they're like absolute assholes. I'll send you a picture of one of them.
Yeah, please.
Or the ground around my trees out front is just littered with these carcasses because I'm just like murdering them.
They look sick. These are awesome.
Yeah, they're cool. I'm like, they're probably about like, maybe nickel sized or a little bit smaller. So they're not tiny, but like you can very clearly see the colors. They look nice, but it's just like, oh no, like you can't be here.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what I've been dealing with anyway. Fun. We have a Patreon page, toofast2forever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Jake Freer, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellen, and Justin Kleiman, Brian Rodriguez of this podcast. Yeah. Haley Gerbies, Wes Hampton, Christian Larson, Jerry Robinson, Dan the Duke, Hayden, Redondo DiDonato, Michael McGann, Lane Middleton, and Jessica Collins, a.k.a. Montez. Thank you all so much for supporting us at the $5 level or above. Like we've said last time, we have the laps 10, 11, 12 themes on the Patreon. We have bonus episodes, got another one coming up soon on the Patreon, only on the Patreon. So go there, do those things, toofast2forever.com. Even $1 a month gets you in the door.
Yeah.
We also have an email address, family@cageclub.me. And Joe, we have 3 emails today.
Okay.
First up from Alex, and I don't think this is a spoiler. If it is, I'm going to stop reading. But he says laps 11, 12 themes. So here we go. Patreon topic coming at you.
Oh.
I was already looking for movies for these laps with the loosest interpretation in order to get the worst movie options possible. Then you called me up for doing exactly that. I'll find something good and terrible. Don't you worry.
Thank you. Perfect.
Says Joe, too, I was fully aware of the backstory for picking Redline, in parentheses, the bad one. Let the record show that the first email about it back in July 2020, I merely said lap 9 Redline because it sent the economy into a recession, sort of.
Okay.
Then in later emails about it, I partially blamed it for Paul Walker's death. And this is what he writes in the previous email. And the 2007 Redline might be the actual worst movie of all time. They actually destroyed a Porsche Carrera GT for the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen the bonus features. Turns out it took a bigger revenge when a Carrera GT killed Paul Walker. So that movie not only is rough to watch and a physical manifestation of the impending doom to hit in 2008, but it also might be considered the catalyst for Paul's death. It's like the Soul Stone from the MCU, except it extracted a bigger toll than it gave.
Perfect.
And then he says, Joey even knew what I'd stick with that one when asked if I was sure later, and I called it, quote, the most culturally significant, so it had to stay, Alex.
It probably was the most culturally significant movie we covered last lap. Or this lap. It might actually be.
Well, so here's the question. So we did not say this on the main feed yet. We only talked about it on the Patreon feed, but the patrons at the $10 a month tier get to pick one movie a year, right?
Yeah.
Next year is laps 11 and 12, so everybody gets one pick for either one of those. But we're also given the option, we will watch anything you want us to watch, but it'll go behind the paywall.
If it doesn't fit the theme, yeah, that was the thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So the real question here is, will Alex want to torture everyone?
Oh.
Right?
Yeah, that's a tough choice.
Because he could pick, like, absolute bullshit, but it'll be for the select patron audience. Or he'll pick some on-brand, maybe slightly lesser bullshit.
That's true.
Everyone will be subjected to it, right? So,
yeah, very
I don't know.
True. I don't know either.
That's
a hard choice.
Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, personally, I would probably, like, stick closer to the theme if I wanted, like, real bullshit and for the act of inducing bullshit, but I could see both ways.
Yes. We'll see what Alex, I mean, he's got nothing but time. We have a whole lap to get through before he can let somebody in. Justin already sent in his pick for, I think, lap 12.
Ooh.
So, he's about a year ahead on that, but we got that locked and loaded. Of course, it can change. But, if anybody wants to join, $10 a month, you get to pick a movie. And also, if you join right now, you get a pick for lap 10 as well, which is the lap starting in a couple weeks or a month or whatever.
True. Yeah.
And then you'll also get one for next year. So, bang for your buck at the moment.
Cool.
Next email from Jerry, and he sends 2 pictures, which I had sent to you on Facebook.
Cool.
Says, hey guys, a vacation update. Just got home from dropping off Ileana after our vacation, and this is where we went. On Saturday, we went to see Joe Coy in Sacramento, which he wrote in. Stayed at the Grand Sheraton. Then, on the 3rd, we, as in me, drove to Anaheim for Disney and stayed at the Hilton and ate burritos at one place that was on the show Diners, Drive-Ins, Dives.
Oh, Triple D is someplace that we always look for food recommendations. Like when we go to like a new place, especially like places that he's gone to a bunch of times, like Hawaii. Like I always look at like Triple D places just for like ideas, right? Because he always is going to cool places. Good choice.
When I did my cross-country trip, I did Man vs. Food.
Okay, same guy, different actor. I do a little Bourdain if I'm in like a bougier city.
Sure.
I'll do a Bourdain one, but then Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, especially if I'm like doing car trips, like road trip type situations. He hits some good places. So agreed, thumbs up.
There is a sketch on the Comedy Bang Bang TV show that was on IFC for 5 years, where Scott Aukerman, the host, is in the show, basically playing a Guy Fieri type, and he's doing like this like renovate a sweater, like a really dumb reality like fix him up show. But the whole premise of the show is to he just get on Route 66 and just drive in his convertible. He's like, all right, we're getting down on Route 66, and he's just driving back and forth, and it's just wonderful. So Monday at California Adventure, everyone was loving her custom Ursula ears. I got it for Christmas, and her outfit that matched it, which I think we might be in one of these pictures. I'm not sure.
I saw just these.
Yeah. In the second picture, that's at the Avengers campus.
Oh, those are really cool. Yes, very cool.
We got on the exclusive ride Web Slingers, where Ileana's a better Spider-Man than me, and I have the tattoo of the symbol. Well, you know.
Wes has a Spider-Man
every Spider-Man
tattoo
needs
too?
a Mary Jane.
That's true. Spider-Man tattoos galore over here.
Or what was Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy?
Oh, yeah.
The titular Gwen Stacy. Spider-Gwen. Tuesday was for Disneyland, and after being placed in a backup queue for the Ride of the Resistance, we conquered all the rides, ran into my best friend Anthony's girlfriend Lynn, who flew from Vegas, celebrating their 5-year anniversary.
Cool.
We rode rides till our stomachs growled, went our own ways when our backup queue finally went through for Rise of the Resistance. We were tired but annoyed, said fuck it, and went on. It was worth the wait. Being the Star Wars fan that I am, I rocked a Darth Vader shirt and mask. Very, very cool.
Very cool.
He says, then they drove down to Hollywood for breakfast, where they had Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles for her first time.
Ooh.
She enjoyed it. We enjoyed it. Checked in at the Hollywood Historical Hotel, and went to the Wax Museum, where sometimes the celebrities would be in character and pop out, but none this time. We saw Daniel Craig getting his Hollywood star. Cool.
Oh, very cool. And that's
classy guy. We fist bumped. Whoa, okay.
Ooh. Fist bumping James Bond over here.
Then we decided to check out Venice Beach, and Santa Monica ran into a former coworker of mine. Man, he's running into people he knows everywhere.
Including James
Venice,
Bond.
A little too ghetto, and Santa Monica smaller than I thought. We ate tortas at this place by UCLA called Pinche Tacos. It means fucking in Spanish. And we ate at fucking tacos.
That's pretty awesome, and you can get away with it because the translation, right? So
because gringos don't know anything.
Exactly.
Today being Friday, it was time to go. We drove 5 hours, 350 miles. Didn't stop for anything in my gas tank on a 2018 Ford Focus hatchback dubbed the Silver Surfer. We made it from Hollywood to Oakland with an average speed of around 80. Great trip, especially for a week. And now I'm already working out plans for next year. This time I'm thinking Disney World. That's all I got because now I'm tired. My eyes hurt. Haven't smoked in a week. Smoked weed in a week. And now my car needs an oil change. Be fast and never last, Jerry.
That sounds like a blast. Usually for us on the East Coast, everybody goes to Disney World, not Disneyland. I've been to the Florida one a bunch. I've been to California once, and my buddy, I think he still works there. But yeah, hit Disney World if you've never been. It's really, really cool, and it's fucking huge because they bought, that giant part of the Everglades that we're going to drive through in this minute.
Well, I think the common, not rule of thumb, is that all of Disneyland can fit in Disney World's parking lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's much, much bigger. Yeah.
Which is crazy. So, yeah. And then our last email, Joe, is from a new listener, Amy Craig.
Amy, is this Daniel Craig's friend?
I hope so. I mean, I saw
Cousin?
Bond, Jerry fist bump Bond.
Yeah! Jesus. Well, hello, Amy.
Subject line, Joey and Joe are my guilty pleasure.
Oh.
Feel compelled to write in and say thanks for all the fun. I found you guys through Zack Attack, parentheses, we're never going to be better than this. Followed you to Boyfriend Material, Applejacks All the Way,
Okay.
Breakfast Material.
Yes.
And Joey and Mike to Hanks for the Memories, I love Joe vs. Volcano. I tuned into Too Fast just to get to hear your banter, and now I love it and have even started watching the movies. Well, that's perfect.
We made a new convert again. That's awesome.
I love your brotherly, dynamic, fun personalities, hysterical observations about the movies. As a therapist, I sometimes find myself correcting you guys as you wonder what is wrong with a character when it's a psych-based issue, attachment, trauma, etc. Just shows how engaging you are that I'm walking around my house with my AirPods in, appearing to be laughing and talking to myself. Thanks for all that you do to add laughter and levity to the world, Amy.
That's awesome, Amy. I'm sure that I've given you so much material.
Yeah, I was going to say, I generally avoid that kind of stuff because I'm not an expert, but like you and sometimes a guest are just like, well, here, we're going to take a swing for the fences here. This is what I think is wrong with this character. And I'm like, oh, boy.
Well, there's a lot wrong with me, too, is what I'm saying. So Amy must be listening being like, what the fuck is wrong with this person?
Also true.
But that's great. I'm glad that we can make you laugh, and I'm glad that you like listening to us. And see, another fucking proof that we've said to so many people that if you like Zack Attack, or if you liked Boyfriend Material, this is the same shit, dude.
But that's all the emails. family@cageclub.me. If you want to write in, we'll read it on the next episode, which will be Hobbs and Shaw next week.
Yes.
Or whenever you write in. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
just write in.
true.
Joe, on the streets news. Oh, actually, hold on. Before we go there, we have a new review on iTunes.
What?
Lane wrote in, or Lane did a review.
Okay.
This ain't no 10-second podcast. I love this podcast, he says. Just started, I'm 3 years behind, but I'm loving it. They have great ideas about how to continually have relevant discussions about a 10-movie franchise and keep it fresh. 5 stars. Well, thank you, Lane.
Thank you, Lane.
We need more reviews. If you want to review, go to Apple Podcasts, at least in the US. Even if you don't listen on Apple Podcasts, if you have an iPhone, it's on there or whatever. Just download the app, review us, please, and thank you.
Yeah, and it adds, man. Like it pops up the highest on Google, so it helps. Thank you.
Yeah. Joe, news about the Fast and Furious on the streets. Anything you have seen in the last week about this franchise?
No, I haven't seen anything. How about you?
Have you listened to, I tweeted about it, have you listened to Dwayne Johnson's new song?
Oh, no, I haven't. I actually haven't. I sent you, my friend sent it to me. I sent you the thing, and I think somebody, like, eventually it became, like, a tweet thing, too, but there was a comment on the YouTube of the video, and it says, Dwayne Johnson's completed life, and now he's just doing side quests.
Yes.
Like, so, no, I saw that, but I haven't listened to the song. Is the song good? Should I listen to the song?
No, it's good. So it's Tech Nine and a couple of the rappers, and so what's smart about this is that he has one verse that he does at the end.
Okay.
And like it's an actual song. Like it's not, like other people have done like entire songs that they're not necessarily a musician. They do an entire song, whatever. This is just him doing a verse, and he's pretty good.
He's featured on a Tech Nine song. Yeah.
Yes. There was something that happens at the very end of the song that I'm like, I kind of rolled my eyes at, which I won't spoil for you. I'll just let you get there.
Okay.
But yeah, the song is good. So I would check it out. The song is called, hold on, let me bring it up.
I'm not a big Tech Nine fan because a lot of people like his songs, and I think he's very verbose, and he likes to tell stories in his songs. And that's not the type of rap that I usually prefer.
This is not that.
Okay, cool. Thank you. There's like many songs that like people are like, have you heard this Tech Nine song? And it's like a 6-minute long book on tape. And I'm like, no thanks. I don't want that.
No, he does a verse, then Joey Cool, whoever that is, does a verse, King ISO does a verse, and then The Rock and Tech Nine do a verse together. I guess
cool.
Tech Nine's just sort of his like hype crew or whatever. But yeah, and it's called Face Off.
Ooh.
And they make a Nicolas Cage reference.
Makes
which is
sense.
Cool.
I was gonna ask.
Yeah, it'll be chaos like an emerald chase when I face off in a Nicolas Cage.
Ooh.
So check it out. It's it's streaming everywhere. It's probably on YouTube too. So
yeah, I think
Face
there's a music
Off,
video.
Tech Nine.
That's what I want to see. I think he's in the music video too.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know why it happened.
If you want to, I mean, at this point, like when you're The Rock, like we say, like he could do whatever. He's like one of the biggest movie stars in the world. So like, if he was like, either way, The Rock could have been like, I would love to do a rap song once, or Tech Nine could be like, can we get The Rock to be on this song? And like either one is like, yep, cool.
Yeah, I don't know. That's all I've seen. There's nothing going on. We were talking. I was last week when Brian was asking about Hobbs and Shaw 2, and so maybe eventually. I don't know.
Yeah, because like we said, they greenlit it. We have nothing on the table for next year, and we were going year, and then pandemic. But theoretically, we should have had Hobbs and Shaw 2 this year.
Well, I don't know if that was ever going to be the case. It might have been next year all along. So I don't know.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
Because it was never year.
It was Fate.
Hobbs. But then there was a year off. No, there was a year off.
Oh, that's right. Okay, it was
Hobbs 17,
and Shaw,
then 19, and then it was supposed to be 20.
Yes, it was going to be Hobbs and Shaw, then F9, So we got a year between those two, but then that got pushed. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, they greenlit Hobbs and Shaw too, but that was never like they didn't even like date it for 21, right? So like it
Makes
might have always
sense,
been
yeah.
22. It still might be 22. I don't know. Who knows? But no news. Not good news. Just no news. But Joe, the final thing to do before we take a break and bring in Brian is the Too Fast, Too Furious minute 31. One of my favorite quotes in the movie, and I know what it means. I don't really know what it means. I don't know why I know why he says it. I don't know why he says it. Why must I chase the cat?
Agent Markham, I've got him heading south on I-95.
Yeah, I got it. They're running. What a surprise.
Come on, stick with me, Ron. What you got?
Why must I chase the cat?
Smart ass.
So in this minute, the racers continue to speed down Alligator Alley as we focus on Roman and Brian at HQ. An agent tells Agent Markham their location. He thinks they're running. Brian and Roman jockey for position as Roman does his iconic middle finger flip off, where he also does like the spinning in a circle sort of thing. And they speed down Alligator Alley as the minute ends. So there's not a ton in here for me to do. The song Ride ends, the deadly freeway race off the score begins. We get a classic through the engine shot, but goes to the computer, which I'll talk about.
Yes.
But the only thing that I really found, that I don't know if for sure this is confirmed, but there's a new sort of, or maybe she's in the background or whatever, a new agent in this movie.
The woman on the phone.
Yes.
Okay.
She is in Too Fast. She plays detective, I think, if this is the woman. Possibly Felicia Raffield, Rafield. It's hard to confirm it's her because she has no IMDb picture. She's not been in a ton of things. I think I confirmed it's her by finding her obituary, which is very sad.
Oh.
She died 4 years ago, but she's from Coral Gables High School, so it kind of makes sense that she'd be like in Florida.
Kind of tracks, yeah.
Right? Went to Syracuse University with a musical theater degree. I saw in the obituary, there was a nice note that in honored remembrance of her, if you attended a memorial service, please consider wearing any shade of pink, which is her favorite color. So Suki would have fit right in there, which I think is very nice.
Yeah.
She's best known for playing her role of detective in this movie. She also played, do you know the movie Run, Ronnie, Run, which is a sort of a spin-off movie from Mr. Show, which everybody hated. Like it was a bomb. It's funny, but it's just like it did not do what they wanted to do.
Okay.
Because there was a character on Mr. Show that David Cross played called Ronnie Dobbs. He was the most arrested man in history, or most arrested man on TV, and they had made a whole movie about it. But she plays in this movie gay female military type. So she's not been in a ton of things, but she's in Mr. Show or in Run, Ronnie, Run. And the only other thing of note is that she was in 2 episodes of Miami Vice, and if you Google her name, the top hit is the Miami Vice wiki for her character that was in 2 episodes. So, like, the Miami Vice fandom, I guess, is fervent.
Yeah.
And so they SEO the shit out of her. But that's all I got. Also, if this isn't actually Felicia Rayfield, none of this matters. But that's all, I don't know. That's the best I got. But you said you found some cool things. So what'd you find in minute 31?
I did find some cool things. So that, like, you know, they're passing a bunch of cars. One of the things that I first noticed this time that I had never noticed before is the trucks that they're like splitting, like Roman at the end of this minute. One of them is a lumber liquidator's truck.
Cool.
And I was like, that's weird. I never noticed that before. But I got all like the trucks and figured out what they were. Got the license plate for one, the number on the side for the other. We go through and we get to like the shot through the engine. It's hard to stop these movies, because this thing's, you know, the shot through the engine is what, 2.5 seconds, 3 seconds maybe,
and it's fast anyway. Like, I always had in my mind, I was like, oh, Blu-ray, the ultimate technology, like you can pause on any frame and things be in crystal clear thing. It's just like, that's not how things work. It's
really not. You guys should honestly try, like, at one point to just like try to read something in the background of one of these movies. Just like, because it's like it's out of focus for like 1 second, and then it's only in focus for like a frame of a second. It's weird. Anyways, so we get through, and then you get to like it goes through the engine. You're following these wires, but you get to the tracker in it, right? Because that becomes a very important part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I paused in there and I found a resistor and the chip that they use in the tracker and put them in the document. Like this like weird AMD chip that was out that they must have been using, but they used like real numbers and stuff of things, so you can link to the resistor and chip that they used. Then they show the Skynet monitoring thing, and I got all the stuff that's on that, which I thought was kind of interesting because they detectives on the phone, so detective is calling saying she's tracking them, and they show like the map of where they're driving and stuff like that. They call it Skynet, which I thought was interesting.
I wonder if that's an actual brand or not, or is that just, or that's the software on the computer?
I don't know. It just says United States Customs Service Skynet GPS monitor. That's what it says. So I don't know if somebody was making a joke or if it is the thing. I could see it both ways. I didn't check. That was it, but I thought the chip things were pretty fun. I didn't check your question. What is your question for the minute?
So we had something like this before, and I don't love it, but which speed below is the closest to the speed we see Brian and Roman driving as they race down Alligator Alley? Because they're doing between 125 and 130. We see that a couple times on screen.
Ooh.
I don't love it, but I think it's okay. We could do something about Why Must I Chase the Cat, but I also like that as a minute title. What's unique about the way that Roman flips off Brian, but I don't know. Agent Dunn wearing a red and white checkerboard shirt that looks like a tablecloth. That could be a question. Probably not.
Probably not. Lumber liquidators.
I think the question I have is like the best of a bunch of bad questions.
I'm going to pitch this and I'm going to tell you why. I like the what gesture does Tyrese do to Brian because we also had that question earlier.
What hand gesture does Roman give Fonzie? Yeah. So,
yes.
Okay.
That's the only reason why I would say that, because then when you're reading it, you're like, didn't we just have this question? But it's a different question.
What hand gesture does Roman give to Brian as they race down Alligator Alley? We had the options we had before: a thumbs up, an index finger point, the finger, or the OK symbol.
Yeah, and the same answers too. Yes. I mean, that one should be pretty easy. That should be a gimme. But if you put it with the other one, I didn't realize he did so many fucking hand gestures in this movie.
You know, again, we were talking in the last episode about where does Vin end, Mark begin, Dom begin, whatever.
Yes.
I feel like Roman and Tyrese are very similar too, and just, you know, if he's supposed to be on screen but doesn't have a line, like, I'm going to do something weird with my hands.
I don't know. I don't know. See, now you get it. I don't know what to do with my hands. Just put them by your side.
Oh, boy. On that note, let's talk about what to do with their hands as we bring in Brian to talk about Ricky Bobby, Talladega Nights.
Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. This is episode number 205, Talladega Nights, the Ballad of Ricky Bobby. This episode is brought to you by Jacobs Companies. What makes them unique? They recognize that risk is a fundamental component of innovation. Shout out to Jacobs Companies.
Well, shout out to Jacobs Companies. Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. We have our very own Ricky Bobby. We have Ricky Bobby Rodriguez. Hello, Brian.
There's our fourth right there.
Shit. It's Brian.
Hello, thank you for having me 2 weeks in a row, first of all, and yeah, happy to be here on my vacation, making time for you, so.
Thank you.
Well, you kind of bullied us into doing this. This was not on the original schedule. You were like, I thought I'd get a pick every lap. I said, Brian, that's not how this works. You know that's not how this works. I'm not having this argument again. You're like, well, I want to talk about Ricky Bobby. And I was like, all right, fine, whatever, we'll do it.
That's not how it went down.
It's basically how it went down.
I said, oh, well, you have an omission of these 10 films that should be on the lap. I'm sorry. And then you said I could do Ricky Bobby. So Herbie Fully Loaded got done anyway. So, you know.
It did.
Yeah. This was the first time I'd ever seen this movie. I assume that you guys have both seen this before.
So many times. So many times.
I didn't even need to watch it. I didn't even, you know what, like I've seen it so many times that watching it felt like repetitive. Like I wasn't even paying attention because I'd seen it so many times.
So here's what I'm going to say. I'm surprised at how not funny it is. And I think that's not taste.
We knew that was you were going to say this.
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's partly that, but I think that the movie's not trying to be funny.
I don't know about that.
No, I think that it's taking itself more seriously than I was expecting it to.
Okay. I mean, I guess. Well,
my track record with comedies is pretty well established on this podcast. And a couple of years ago, I watched like all the big ones that I'd missed. And there were some that I loved and some that I hated. And I love Step Brothers, so I love these guys in certain elements.
Okay.
This did not work for me.
I mean, this was part of the run where, like, Will Ferrell was doing a bunch of, like, first of all, you had Step Brothers with him and John C. Reilly, but you also had, like, Blades of Glory.
No, but that's after this.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying it's part of this run where he started doing these, like, sports ones.
Yeah, what's the basketball one that came after?
Yes, Tropic Thunder, or not Tropic Thunder. Fuck, they were the Tropicals, but yes,
the Tropics. Oh, what is it?
Yeah, the Tropics.
Damn, I like that movie.
Well, he's semi-pro, so
semi-pro.
This kicks off that run because he does this, then Stranger Than Fiction, which does not fall into that thing, but then Blades of Glory, and then semi-pro, and then Step Brothers, which is again does not really quite fit into this thing.
It doesn't in that realm, but it does in a sense of the John C. Reilly
it's Adam McKay and John C. Reilly and everything, right?
I mean, like, I get that it's definitely dated, right? And, like, the nostalgia of it, and watching it, like, when you were in high school, and, like, all your friends just would quote it endlessly means a lot different than, like, watching it now for the first time.
See, what's weird about that is that, I had a lot of friends who quoted a lot of comedies, and those are kind of the ones that I watched. I've never been around people that, as far as I know, that have quoted this movie.
You definitely have. You just didn't realize it. Trust me. This is one of the most quotable comedies of that era. It was very, like, well received in, like, again, a comedy sense, not an Oscar sense, obviously. But people were talking about this movie when it came out. And also, just looking it up quickly, because I do it, it got positive reviews. Not like, 71%. Critics, 73% by the audience for a dumb-ass comedy. That's really good.
But I think that goes into what I was saying before. Like, I think that it's trying to tell an actual, like, sports story and not just be joke, which I kind of appreciate. Like, I'm not saying it's not trying to be funny as a negative. I'm saying it's not trying to be funny because
there's more substance than you expected.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that, especially early on in establishing... It's all sort of justified. Like, there's an actual story here. Like, me not thinking it's funny is independent of that.
Yeah.
And, like, there are things about this that I really think are funny. Like, I love Walker and Texas Ranger. I think that those kids are great. I think that there's certain, I like Jane Lynch. Like, I like characters in here. I don't know that, like, certain points, but I think there's long stretches of this movie where, like, the Ricky Bobby character is just, like, in a sports movie. Like, he's not in a comedy, and it sort of threw me for a loop.
Well, there's a lot of truth in what you're saying as well. I've mentioned this on a couple other random podcasts, how in this era, these Ben Stiller, Will Ferrell, these, like, comedians would just sit down and watch a bunch of movies on the subject and then write the script. Most famously, in Tropic Thunder, Ben Stiller pretty much watches... I don't know if he's ever said this, I just know it because I've seen all these movies. He watched, like, every Vietnam War movie, and there's pulled quotes from all those movies. There's even shots from all those movies in Tropic Thunder. This film, Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, is no different with that. He watched a ton of NASCAR movies. Joey, you probably saw some Days of Thunder in here.
Sure.
And the weirdest, and I've never seen this written anywhere, but the weirdest inspiration for this movie is a really crappy, rest in peace to the man, but really crappy ESPN film when they did a couple films called Three, the Dale Earnhardt story. There are pulled quotes from that movie with Barry Pepper as Dale Earnhardt in this film. Like, if you ain't first, you're last is from that movie. And there's a couple others. And it's obvious Will Ferrell, is probably drinking some beers, researching, watching the movie. He's like, oh, fuck, that's great. That's fucking great,
Like, imagine if your dad told you this as a kid, and you're just like, yeah. I agree. I think that I do the same thing, Brian. I like to give them a lot like I create my own backstory for a lot of these movies. That maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but you're like, yeah, you definitely were doing this. I know.
Well, this is like a different version of the cycle of what Adam Sandler is doing now on Netflix, where he's like, I want to do a movie in Africa. Like, I want a vacation in Africa. Let's just like write a movie that takes place in Africa, right? It's the same
it is.
idea that it's a funny, famous, powerful white man who's like, I want to do a movie about this. Give me $40 million to make this movie. And they're like, yeah, okay.
I appreciate, though, Will Ferrell in a sense that, like, yes, he 100% had that power, and he used it for fun shit, like that Lifetime movie.
Oh, yeah.
He did, or how about...
He didn't learn any Spanish, and he just starts speaking Spanish. Casa de mi Padre.
Casa de mi Padre. That.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's a different movie.
That's a different one, yeah. There's the Lifetime one with Kristen Wiig.
Yeah, that's right.
And then there's Casa de mi Padre, but there's also that, like, the Spoils of Babylon. It was like an IFC.
Yeah, those are rough to get through. I did not. Those are like the lampooning. Like it's so hard. And I'm not just saying for him, but I think it's so hard to like actually nail. Like parody is very difficult, as we're learning sometimes in this lap. That when it's right, it's so good. And here, I think it's closer than a lot of other things. But like Spoils of Babylon, like it's I don't know, man.
I agree with you, Joey, 100%. But I think
A Deadly Adoption was the Kristen Wiig.
Yes.
That's right. Sorry.
I think Will Ferrell compared to Adam Sandler, Will Ferrell knows that some of these things are going to bomb, but he just wants to do it for almost like the artistic purposes of it. Like there's no silliness in A Deadly Adoption. They play it so straight, but because that's how too straight, but it's more about the art than, as weird as that sounds, it's more about the art than the ha-has or the laugh, because no one goes back to that and be like, this is hilarious, unless you're into Lifetime films and you're like, oh, I see what they're doing here. Spoils of Babylon, I don't know. that one's just wacky.
But like what's strange about A Deadly Adoption is that like you could watch, as you've covered on High School Slumber Party and other podcasts on this fine network, you could watch like any actual Lifetime movie and they're probably more fun than A Deadly Adoption. Like A Deadly Adoption aims to be no fun, and the fun that you have, because that's one that I watched, it's like, this is like, I want to see what this is. And the only fun that there is in that movie is like, oh, it's Will Ferrell doing this. But like, it's not wacky enough.
Yes, and only because you have the exposure to us talking about Lifetime movies so much that, like, if you had no exposure to Lifetime movies, you just only kind of knew of the idea of them, you might think it was funnier. But I think that Brian's more right that, like,
no, but I mean, I watched that before you guys. Like, it's not like you were my gateway into Lifetime movies. Let's not get it twisted here.
No, but I'm saying, but even still, you don't watch a ton of Lifetime movies, so like the tropes and stuff, like you know them, but you never seek out Lifetime movies.
To a Will Ferrell fan,
yes,
that's a very funny movie. To anybody who's seen even one Lifetime movie, you're like, okay.
Exactly. But also, like I said, like Brian said, and I think that this is the real point, is that Will Ferrell was making a run of these movies, and some of them did flop, like, really bad. Like, some of them just didn't hit. But, like, he knew that maybe half, like, 40% of them were going to be good. Like, somebody would like them, and then they just, like, all became cult classics because he was just, like, on this great run. So, I don't know why me and my friends loved this one so much.
Well, I think because it's a sports movie. I think it combines two things you like.
Yeah, but like we're not NASCAR fans.
But I think sports movie as a genre sort of transcends the actual sport.
Okay.
Because I think that there is like a convention and a trappings that it's just like worst to first, or average guy becomes the Super Bowl champion or World Series champion or NASCAR winner or whatever. Like I think NASCAR people love this movie for obvious reasons, but I think that like if you just like sports, it might not be the sport you like, but yes, exactly.
Yes, I agree with all that, and all sports movies are the same, but I think that this is a play on that as well, obviously. Well, I guess all sports comedies are the same in that respect. But this is, if we want to talk like Will Ferrell hits and misses, this was considered a hit at the time, very much so. I feel like, Joey, if you didn't like the movie, you must have liked the cast. There's some Joey favorites in here.
Oh, I mean, I love the cast. I wish that Amy Adams had more of a role. Like, she was one where I was just like, oh, I would like more of her, please and thank you.
But I think her role is to be girl in the background.
I know, but again, I like Gary Cole and Jane Lynch as the parents. Andy Richter, I wish he had, like, any lines, basically, at all, you know?
How about Leslie Bibb? You're a Leslie Bibb guy.
I love Leslie Bibb. She's great. Kind of like an object in here, whatever.
But that's 100% intentional and supposed to be that way. Like a NASCAR wife is the most stereotypical, objectified wife. I think though, John C. Reilly steals the movie for me every time. Like,
Oh my god, he gets me. It's like to watch him do this, and then like when this is what do we watch, like Magnolia, right? And you see John C. Reilly play like a serious role, and I'm just like, I cannot unsee Dale and this. Like every time he talks, I'm just like, shake and bake, right? Like that's all I see coming out of his mouth. It's a very different experience. He definitely steals the show for me too.
I also like Jack McBrayer on the pit crew.
Yes, he's great.
He's our one of our few Too Fast, Too Forever quiz crossovers. How furious are you? So furious he fakes his own death, just like smiling and giggling outside the garage. Like there were moments I liked and I laughed at this, but I was just like I thought I would like it, not love it, but I kind of liked it less than I. Again, didn't hate it, but I would not watch this again.
Like, did you like the big beats, like the 8 pound, 6 ounce baby G? Like, did you know all those quotes? Or
no, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't have friends
That's
quoting
so
those.
weird. That's so weird. So much.
Like, I know, like everybody knows if you're in first or last. Like, that's a
fine.
given.
Yeah, I'm talking about like the fun. Like, I like to picture my Jesus in a tuxedo T-shirt.
No.
And like the don't put that evil on me. I say that to you so many times.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of people say. Like, don't put that on me.
Yeah, don't put that evil on me.
Yeah.
Like, I say it all the time to you. Like, whenever you. So, I guess they're not super memorable. Like, they're kind of just random phrases that, like, if you watch the movie and heard them a million times, yes. But, like, otherwise they just sound like nonsense.
This came out in 2006, which I guess it's also kind of was this, when in 2006 does this come out, Brian? Do you know, is this fall or is this spring?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't think I even saw it in the theaters, but they would like.
I don't think I saw it in the theaters either.
These were rental movies. They would come out in the theaters. People would watch them, but I would usually wait for like the rental market and be like, hell yeah, we're watching this new Will Ferrell movie.
This came out August 4th, 2006, which is a weird time because that's the summer between my high school and college. So like,
how well did it do money wise?
It made $160 million, which is pretty good.
Pretty good. $72 million budget though, which is huge for a comedy.
That's very expensive. So, like, you know, you advertise this movie, you market this movie. It doesn't make a ton of money then, because if you add more on top of the budget for marketing, like,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it made its money back, I'm sure, on DVD. There's also a weird thing that I saw on IMDb that the first 400,000 PS3s that were sold included a Blu-ray of this that came out like a month before the DVD.
Yes, so, like, yes.
Sure.
I had that Blu-ray. I remember now. It's all coming back.
Did you have a PlayStation 3 or did you buy the PlayStation 3 version of the movie?
I don't know. I bought a PlayStation 3 and it came with a Blu-ray disc of the movie.
Okay, so you did. So you got it the official free way. Okay, yes. Cool. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, the free way by paying for the wildly expensive PS3 that was just like, people were like, how expensive is this?
I was using it for other things. I didn't buy it for Ricky Bobby. That would be
sure.
Yeah, you were like, man, this $400 copy of Ricky Bobby.
A few other things I want to say from the trivia very quickly, because there's not a ton about here. Christopher Nolan loves this movie. He says it's great. It's one of his favorite movies. So
that checks out.
Whatever.
That checks out.
That's really awesome.
NASCAR originally hated the title Talladega Nights, and I don't know why. I guess it's like implying that like stuff goes on behind I don't know. Like it's
an awesome title.
Innocuous.
That's an awesome title. Fuck that.
Yeah, it's a really great title. Like, what else are you gonna call this?
They changed it to the production company. High, Wide, and Handsome. Loud and Proud was considered, then it became the original title. But like,
Loud and Proud? That sounds like a completely different movie.
So, okay, so I know it's a different time. I know it's 15 years ago, but if you're not gonna like certain things about this movie, the title is not the issue. Like, there's so much to be like,
no.
Do we want to put this out in the world? And the title is like the least of their. So I don't know. It's a strange thing.
Yeah, I don't understand too. Like, and NASCAR, they're coming out of like a really hot time. Like, remember everyone was talking about NASCAR, and this is like the tail end of that. That's really stupid of them to just be like, you know what, you're going to make a whole movie about us, Will Ferrell, one of the top stars in Hollywood.
Like, even if it's a comedy, yeah.
Change the title. Like, whoa, come on.
Well, especially as the way that they sold this movie, which goes back to what we were saying before, and this point, is 6 words. Will Ferrell as a NASCAR driver. And they're like, yeah, cool. And then to not like, I don't know. It's very strange. Because you're right, Brian. Like, it feels like all the stars have aligned for this, like, ideal project of a movie, and then be like, yeah, the title doesn't work. It's like, what? What?
Did Will Ferrell run promo at NASCAR for this movie? Like,
Yes.
did they
Yes.
let him, like, come
Yes.
to, like, Talladega and, like, do it? Okay, cool.
They did a lot of promo around this movie with him in character. Wonder Bread and Perrier, like the big sponsors on the cars, they weren't charged. Like their thing was they would just do free advertising for this. So like a lot of the sponsorship, a lot of this, like this seems like it just got out into the world, and I think went kind of viral in the world of NASCAR in terms of just like drivers liking it for obvious reasons. Will Ferrell showing up like on podiums and things and just doing that. So yeah, exactly what you think they would have done. It seems like they actually did do.
Makes sense, because like I wasn't paying attention to NASCAR, so yeah, that makes sense. Perfect. Good job, guys.
Cal, Ricky, and Gerard, who are Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly and Sacha Baron Cohen, were introduced during driver introductions at the 2005 UAW Ford 500 at Talladega Nights, or at Talladega, not Talladega Nights, Talladega. Ricky and Cal were cheered, but when Gerard was introduced as a driver from France with a Perrier car, the entire crowd started booing without any prompting. It's like, yeah, okay, low-hanging fruit. Like, I get it. People don't like French people,
But
right?
this is so, it reminds me of like the Colbert Report, right? Like when Stephen Colbert started doing that shit.
Yes.
Liberals liked it because it was mocking conservatives, but conservatives liked it too because it was, I don't know, like it also kind of spoke to them, right? Yeah, it was funny. Like this movie is ripping NASCAR culture a little bit at times. I mean, a lot of times, but also I know NASCAR people really love this movie, and that's good that if you could laugh at yourself a little bit. But the French thing is so indicative of that. Like Will Ferrell literally sat down and said in 2006, which obviously was that year, 2005, 2006, whenever he wrote it, what would the driver that NASCAR fans would probably hate most? Now, he couldn't make it a minority because obviously that would be really bad, but hey, gay French man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different kind of minority. He's just not a person of color, but
Yes.
like every other box is checked, right? It's like...
And a part of the fun, like, look, you couldn't make a movie like this today, or you shouldn't.
No.
It's super homophobic in that way, but it's also poking fun of how homophobic NASCAR fans are. So
yeah, there was a moment very early on where Sacha Baron Cohen shows up, and I'm like, is this movie like secretly like super progressive? And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, it kind of is.
For a minute, I'm like, yeah, maybe, and then I'm like, oh wait, no, it's not. Like it could be, and I think if it doesn't have to change a lot to be like that, but I think overall, no.
No, you couldn't call it that, but it kind of is because you know Will Ferrell, he's a Hollywood elite, he's a progressive guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is a tongue-in-cheek again, like when he shows up in the jukebox scene. It's like, oh, why do you have the jazz song? I'm not going to do the accent. It's like for profiling reasons. We also have the Pet Shop Boys and Seal.
There's so many jokes in this movie that still get me, and like I know them every time. Like Rachel was opening the fridge today, like while they were doing like the first grace at the meal, and she kept like watching the TV, like she wasn't looking in the refrigerator because like even though she knew the jokes, she was still waiting for them.
That gets
and saying grace to weird things is very Fast and Furious.
Very true.
It is. Yeah, there's lots of weird stuff. Actually, something that I pointed out from Fast 9 before. I only noticed this in this movie because we were talking about it in Fast 9 and I caught it last time we watched it. The car numbers in Fast 9 are 1327, like the house, right? So like now I'll never forget that.
Sure.
Like those are intimately linked. In this movie, his dad's car is 13 and his NASCAR is 26, so it's 1326, not 1327. And I was like, that's fucking weird that they're just like one number off of what it would have been. And obviously this movie came out way before Fast 9 did, but also like I don't think they were thinking about 1320. I think
I wonder, like that seems like a coincidence, but like it's too close to be like an actual coincidence. It's very weird.
It's very, very weird.
Wait, I have one more bit of trivia. It's not really, it's
Please.
kind of trivia, but we talked about it a little bit before. Brian mentioned Days of Thunder, which we talked about in the Herbie Fully Loaded episode. No, on the Red Line episode, because in Red Line, the bad Red Line, the live action Red Line, she sees that picture of her dad crashing, and like it's Cole Trickle's car, it's Tom Cruise's car. So
yes.
Tom Cruise, a NASCAR driver in that movie. Go check out Cruise Club if you want to hear us talk about that. But John C. Reilly on his pit crew in that movie. So
you're right.
Is he?
I forgot about that. You're right.
Yeah.
So John C. Reilly's in like a couple Tom Cruise movies.
Yeah, and a couple NASCAR movies, and one that is both.
That's crazy.
Wild.
That is wild.
Does he act anymore? Has he been in anything recently?
He and Will Ferrell were in that Holmes and Watson movie that came out a couple years ago.
Oh,
that
that's
was
right.
apparently terrible.
Yeah.
But
that
they're
was-
just having fun.
He's in Licorice Pizza coming out, but I mean that's Paul
That's-
Thomas Anderson movie,
yeah.
so if he was going to be in that, I don't know how big of a role. He looks like he's eighth build, but he was in Ralph Breaks the Internet. He's doing
that's right.
something.
That's right.
He's
That's
not.
right. He was doing all the Wreck-It Ralph stuff. That's right.
He was in the first Guardians of the Galaxy. Have you guys seen his son?
No, who's his son?
His son is like a hot gay thirst trap that Instagram loves, and he doesn't look
Oh,
a thing
really?
like him. Yeah, look up John C. Reilly's son. He's like,
Love Leo?
yeah, that's what he's known as.
Turns out John C. Reilly's son is a model, a musician, and very, very hot, says HuffPost.
He doesn't look a thing like him, in my opinion.
You can see, like, I think knowing he's related, I'd be like, oh yeah, I see it. But like, if you were like, who's this guy related to? I'm like, I have no fucking idea.
Singer and TikTok creator. Wow. Wrote songs Boyfriend and Rosie.
So can I say my favorite Talladega Nights moments?
Please get through.
That we haven't already talked about, obviously, because like the toast scene's amazing. We know that.
Yeah.
I like, though, again, a lot of these are going to be John C. Reilly. I like the fact that when the team owner promotes John C. Reilly to top driver, and he ends up marrying Will Ferrell's ex-wife.
Yeah,
And-
he just immediately.
And
Yes.
when Will Ferrell walks in, and then they're like playing, is it Jenga with the family?
Yes,
Like,
Jake. Yes.
and he's just like acting. It's like, your marriage was a hollow shell, a cruel charade. Like. But I like it because it leads to one of my favorite scenes is when he calls him
Yep.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah, in the middle of the night to ask how the TV
I like that
works,
scene.
and he keeps like bringing him back into it. Like,
The outtakes in this movie, like I think that they just have too much fun like doing these because like you even see it like they usually run these in the credits, but like at the end of the movie when they do all the like the fake sponsorships and stuff, like those are great. Like there's has to be so many times that like this is just completely improv, right? Like
yeah. And Joe, you bring up a really good point for comedies in this era. We talk about it a little bit on my podcast, High School Slumber Party. With
The podcast where you and some friends look back at your teenage years and lens to some iconic high school-centric films.
Well,
You're Brian Rodriguez, and the party's at your place this evening. But first, school is still in session. In class, I ran out of it. School in session. And we've got some homework to chat about. Sorry, there we go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Maybe you can be the substitute teacher.
ooh.
No, I'm the principal. I'm established as canonically the principal. in
Canonically, the
universe.
principal / the heel in a lot of podcasts.
So yes. So if I'm a substitute teacher, I come in when they're like, all right, the actual substitute teacher's on the way here, but like
COVID breakout
there's
in
like
Exactly.
20.
school, yeah.
It's like a 20-minute gap where like somebody needs to be in front of these kids. So like, yeah, I can do an intro, but I can't be your actual substitute teacher. Anyway, go ahead.
Fair. So the sex comedies of the early 2000s would always have the theatrical version, and like, oh, here's the unrated version.
Yep.
Wacky comedies of this era were no different. They like the unrated version of this film, or just like it's not even like raunchy or anything, but just like the unrated version of this film and the theatrical version have different jokes, longer jokes. So sometimes you'll hear people quoting something that's not the theatrical version. You're like, what? Tropic Thunder, again, is a movie that's like that the theatrical version and the uncut version or director's cut version are very, even the music they use in scenes is completely different. And this is no different. There's like a lot of what you're talking about, Joe, is actually put in that extended edition that a lot of people know more than the theatrical version.
Yeah, because like you said, and like I think too, that I think a lot of people mostly watch this.
Oh, wait. So, okay, I only watched the theatrical version. I did not watch the unrated version.
Interesting. I mean, maybe you'll like it. I doubt it. Maybe you'll like
Well, so the theatrical version is the one that's on Netflix, which is where I watched this. That's
I
108
watched it on Netflix
minutes.
this time too.
There's the unrated version, which is 14 minutes longer. It's a 2-hour and 2-minute movie, which I can tell you already that I will probably not like more. Maybe. I don't know. That's a long... That's 15 minutes.
No, I watched a 2-hour and 2-minute movie version on Netflix today.
Maybe the jokes are different then. Maybe it's not necessarily longer, because I've seen that too. Like, again, on like American Pie, right? Like, that is almost the same runtime, but the angles are different, the jokes are different.
Joe, if you watch it on Netflix, it's hour 47. I just checked it again.
Maybe I searched it on Fire TV and it said 202, but when I clicked Netflix, it played 147. I don't know.
There's the great site moviecensorship.com where we check for like Fast and Furious things, but regarding the movie, it can be observed that is obviously produced for an intended PG-13 rating, and a few scenes are slightly overshot. They were now reinserted into the unrated version. Numerous extended scenes and additional storyline elements which aren't always necessary, and again make the movie a little too long, especially the recurring part where Ricky over and over that he's not friends with Cal anymore, and the scene on Gerard's residence unnecessarily slow down the movie. Opposite of this, the prolonged argument in the bar, as well as 2 additions in the hospital, and the hilarious scene with the rabbits on the racetrack.
I definitely didn't watch that in the Netflix version today.
If both were available to me for free, I would have watched the longer one.
Yeah, exactly.
But the one on Netflix is the theatrical version.
So Netflix traditionally has the theatrical versions, which I don't know if I've heard it in this one because I don't think people are caring enough to talk about it. But I know in other movies, people have been like, "Hey, where was that scene? Netflix cut it out," and Netflix has to like release a statement, being like "No, we didn't cut it out. This is just a theatrical version." There's a funny movie like that. It might be like A Walk to Remember, where people were like, "Wait a minute, that's not how it ends," and Netflix had to be like, "No, that is how it ends. You're thinking of the extended DVD cut, which we don't have the rights to."
Well, so I'm trying to, speaking of A Walk to Remember, I spent most of the movie, that's an exaggeration, some of the movie, trying to figure out what I knew the race owner from, the actor Greg German, who's the one hanging out with Molly Shannon all movie.
Yes.
And I think, and this makes no sense in my brain, even though it's a movie now I've seen 3 times at least, I think I just know him from Sweet November, the Charlize Theron and Keanu Reeves movie.
Maybe.
Because, he's most known for Ally McBeal, which I've never seen.
No.
I looked through his IMDb. I'm looking at his wiki now. He's a guy who, or maybe he might just be that guy who, pops up in things.
Yeah.
But I was like, I feel like I know, I really know him. I'm like, oh, he's 6th build on a TV show I've seen. That's not the case. I think it's just from Sweet November, where he plays, I don't even remember who he plays, but I think he's fairly... He's not even in the plot summary. What the fuck? He's 4th build in a wiki. He's not even in the plot summary.
What did you say his name was?
Greg German with 2 N's.
Greg German. I don't know.
He does look very familiar, though. I had the same kind of feelings. He felt like he's in a comedy show that I've watched that was like a sitcom.
And not like the star, but the best friend or something.
Like somebody's dad, something like that.
Yeah. No, that's not the case. 60 episodes of Grey's Anatomy. He's done a lot of things
for a lot of
shows.
A lot of TV, yeah.
But not the shows that I've seen.
I looked up what that big controversy was when it was on Netflix, not currently on Netflix, and it's The Notebook. The version of The Notebook on Netflix was the theatrical version. Most people have the DVD, and they were confused about some differences in the ending, and Netflix was like, we buy theatrical versions. And that's not the only movie that they do that for. So listeners out there, if you're ever like, wait a minute, I remember something different. So I've seen both versions recently of Talladega Nights, somewhat recently. There's this line when they look at the engine on the rebuilt car, like the car with the cougar on it. One of them says it looks like the Pep Boys threw up, and one of them doesn't.
Oh,
that's an example, out there.
Okay,
it's tough. I think comedies and horror movies generally are better shorter.
Yeah,
not always.
Tighten it up,
but usually.
Yeah, I agree. And if you really like it, then you watch the extended version. You're like, oh, there was some funny stuff in there, but it doesn't make a huge difference.
I agree. The only thing that I think trips people up is when you saw the extended version first and you fall in love with it.
Sure. Yeah. I think that's probably. I think whatever version you see first, I think it's probably going to be the one you like more. I think
it's weird. I don't know. I don't know. You really random, but it's the weirdest version of that. What's this movie called? Wanderlust. Have you guys seen Wanderlust? It's
yes.
He did a cut of that movie, which I've only seen once. That's literally every shot and every line is different. It's the same plot, but they just use an alternate take in every single scene, and it's really trippy. So yeah, I mean, I think in comedies, you just let people riff. You see what happens, and you could probably cut it 20 different ways if you wanted to.
Well, I feel like this is so in the world of comedies. There's Christopher Guest things where they have an 18-page treatment or whatever, right? Where it's each scene is kind of the goal of each scene, but they don't really actually dialogue. Here, I would imagine maybe 60%, 70% of the movie is written, and then the other 30 or 40 is improv. But this is, I think, because of the budget, especially, it's this is. We can't go wildly off script. And if Will's feeling frisky that day or whatever, they'll go a little bit crazier. But I think mostly this is going to be sort of the loosest you can go on a big movie. every shot, every scene, every line or whatever being different is wild.
Yeah, I don't even remember what that Wanderlust cut is, but just the idea that they can do that, like with the extra stuff, is amazing to me. In terms of just things I liked Mike Honcho, his John C. Reilly's Mike Honcho story that he spread his.
They call that the Bizarro cut.
Okay, the Bizarro cut.
He said it's made up of almost entirely material that's not to be found in the, quote, real version of the film. It's alternate lines, jokes, deleted scenes, outtakes, stuff that was too silly, too absurd.
Yeah, it is like a wackier version. It's a less cohesive version, but it's the same things happening. Yes.
So weird.
Mike Honcho, the Magic Man. Most of my things are Cal Naughton Jr. stuff. I'm not going to lie.
That's okay.
I love Gary Cole, obviously. Oh, you know who I really like? And she's just brief, but like Molly Shannon as the team owner's drunken wife.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
She's so just like she like hates him, and he goes she recently had a loss, like as a way to like excuse her eccentric behavior.
I like that she got off to the vibration of the race cars, like she's like using the track to masturbate.
And she'll just kiss that old dude just like for no reason. Yeah, she's great.
Two other, I like the physical comedy in a lot of scenes, but when I know it's homophobic, but when Sacha Baron Cohen's character Jean Girard says like if you kiss me, I'll just leave right now, and Will Ferrell's like stepping up to him, like he's like, I'll never do that, but like he's trying to almost kiss him, like to get out of it.
But the hat, like the bill of the hat,
yeah,
them too far apart.
On a technicality, I like that. I also like for whatever reason when like Will Ferrell shows up at Jean Girard's weird compound that like Mos Def and Elvis Costello are there. Like why? Just little silly things like that. And I did want to bring up Fast Nection wise, right? Like I feel
Go ahead. I have a bunch.
Well, I feel like more and more now the series is acknowledging its organized racing past, right? Like especially in the last one, F9, we actually saw like real scenes from the track and stuff. So this is not that far removed. I mean, this is organized racing and there's fights and stuff. And I felt closer to the Fast and Furious than I ever have while watching this on this time.
Yes, with the now shots of Dom's father at the racetrack. I agree. I absolutely agree. I had so many fast connections and things that we talk about, but
so
like
many.
I mean, a few,
Okay.
more than I expected to have,
that,
even
like,
for a car movie like
at
this.
At a certain point in this movie, I was like, let me just look for those, and I largely came up empty. So I'd love to hear what you found.
When he has the cast and he tries to cut it off, and I was like,
oh yes,
he could flex this off and just totally be The Rock now.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
He's very
close. I wrote that down.
Something that we were talking about a lot. He was like, I like to imagine my Jesus as a ninja fighting evil samurai. I was like, oh, we did the whole Lone Wolf and Cub thing. That's great. When he fakes his death, I was like, that's a very Fast and Furious thing to do, to like fake a death for motivation for a race. And then he's just like, oh no, he's alive. Like they would have waited a movie to bring him back, but he was just alive right there. When at the end, when they're like, this is like the longest crash ever. And I was like, oh, that happens in Fast and Furious all the time. But then they like take like a commercial break in between the crash while it's still like flipping in slow motion.
You know, that's reminiscent of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, where they fall to hell and they fall for like so long that like the commercial, they take a commercial break in the movie.
Oh, I forgot they take a
as they're falling.
That was all, and I don't know. I think I just saw this on the special features at the time, but that was also an in joke as NBC had started to cover NASCAR around then. And there were like NASCAR squares, according to like the NASCAR fans, and they didn't understand the sport, and they would cut to commercials at the worst possible time. So if you're like a NASCAR fan watching it at the time, you were like, "Oh yeah, of course NBC would cut there." Sorry, I did the accent; that was stereotypical. There are northern NASCAR fans. There are fans of NASCAR across the country, not just in the South. That's just the heartland of NASCAR.
How would you be an editor for this sport if you like had never watched it? Right? Like, it would be really hard to be like, this is an important part, or this is a non-important part. You know? You'd be like, I don't know.
Well, because it's the same thing like why I used to love soccer when I was growing up, even though I didn't actually like soccer, is because soccer, when you were looking for bottom line, like before the internet, like I was at my grandparents' house and like I got to see like baseball scores. You would watch like hope like soccer was on ESPN too, because it'd be 45 minutes uninterrupted basically with no commercials. And so just like I don't know what you can't take a break there, right? Like you can't put a commercial break in the middle of a half. So I don't know what you do in a NASCAR race.
Americans are the worst with this stuff. football. There's again, we all love it.
So many commercials. Yeah.
So many commercials, and it's made for commercials. That's why it makes money. But I've been recently trying to like watch some Formula One races because it's cool. 90 minutes is the average. It's not allowed to go over 2 hours. No commercials.
Perfect.
Fucking awesome. So what do they do? Do they run like? I guess the whole track is sponsored and.
Yeah, and commercials. I mean, maybe they run one, but it's early in the morning, so I don't remember. But they might run like those side kind of commercials.
Yeah, that's what I was guessing too.
It's not about like that's awesome. Like I wish all sports were just 90 minutes and action packed.
Like that, man.
Yeah, soccer, exactly. Like the Europeans got that right, at least.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm surprised that it took the NFL as long as it did to be like, oh, during a 30-second timeout, we can show another commercial? Yeah, let's do that. Like
in the screen,
that only came,
yes.
Yeah, like a year or two ago. It's like, oh, you could have been doing this for like a decade.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
Do either of you want to guess my favorite quote in this movie?
No, because it's not going to be any of the ones that I imagine it is. Like that I would think was...
Is it from the foodie film scene at Applebee's when they're all...
No, but it is a foodie film scene.
Huh.
Is it Walker, Texas Ranger, and not Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman? Is that it?
No, but it is one of those characters. I also will say that, this is a sort of a fast connection is that Olive Garden, when you hear your family, this is an Applebee's movie, so it's close. It's not quite, but it's close.
Have you guys... Okay, wait. So I'm obviously not on TikTok at all because I'm old.
You are younger than I am, but go on. You're younger than both of us.
Mentally old. They have this, like, Applebee's commercial now, and there was this, like, song. Do you know this, like, Applebee's song?
No.
Like, oh, God. It's a dark hole. But there's this song that, like, is, like, it's something about taking a date to Applebee's because it's, like, a classy restaurant, and it's, like, satire.
Is it Fancy Like?
Fancy Like, yes. This is it.
So it's a real song. It's not a parody song.
It is a real song that I think was parody and then became, like, a TikTok viral thing. And then now Applebee's uses it in their commercials of Applebee's doing, like, people doing the dance that was the TikTok dance.
Sure.
Yeah, this blew my mind. And, like, I was like, Rachel, like, why did they make this? Like, why did Applebee's make this stupid song? She's like, no, the song existed. And I was like, so
yeah,
why?
they're just trying to get Gen Z kids to, like, DoorDash from Applebee's. Like, that's all. That's the only reason they're putting that in a commercial.
It's so weird. It's so weird. Anyways, the song's terrible and the commercial's terrible, too.
This is how the song starts. My girl is banging. She's so low maintenance. Don't need no champagne poppin' entertainment. Take her to Wendy's. Can't keep her off me. She want to dip me like them fries in her Frosty. And then the chorus is, yeah, we fancy like Applebee's on a date night. Got that Bourbon Street steak with the Oreo shake. Got some whipped cream on the top too. 2 straws, 1 check, girl, I got you. Bougie like Natty in the styrofoam. Squeaky squeaking in the truck bed all the way home. With some Alabama jamma. She my Dixieland delight. Hey, that's how we do fancy like.
It's the song equivalent of this movie. Like, it is like satire about a group of people that then were like, yeah, we like that satire about us. And you're like, weird.
Joey, what's your favorite quote? I'm dying to know.
Well, I will get there in 1 second, but in the With Bob and David sort of Mr. Show semi reboot that was on Netflix a couple years ago, they did a music video for the song All I Need. And it was just all about, like, all I need is boots, flags, booze, church, family, ribs, beer, football, and American Pride. But, like, the whole thing was just like, I love you to send me a truck for free, Ford. It's just like all these, like, this guy, who sings this song?
He's a real person that made other songs.
Walker Hayes probably was just like, at least at his local Applebee's is going to get, like, free Applebee's from it. You know what I mean? Like, I was saying about you, or whatever, right? My favorite line in this movie is when they're at dinner, and he's praying to baby Jesus about, whatever. And that's where they get in the fight.
Golden-haired, sweet baby Jesus, yeah.
But one of the sons says, Chip, I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew.
That was it? That was what got you?
Yeah, I love it. Because those kids are... Because I feel like a lot of the... Like, I've seen the types of characters Will Ferrell's playing, that John C. Reilly's playing. Like, Sacha Baron Cohen is basically playing a type of character that Seth MacFarlane plays in Logan Lucky. I mean, this came first, but it's the same kind of, like, brash, cocky outsider, whatever. Like, that's all thing. But, like, these kids, man... And, like, at the end, when they have the book club with Jane Lynch, they're talking about, like, what the Red Badge of Courage or whatever actually means.
Yep.
I just love those kids. But, yeah, Chip, I'm all... Like, just the delivery, too. Like, man, I very much enjoyed it.
I'm gonna come at you like a spider monkey. That one was like super.
Yeah, that's the same scene.
Famous.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But that one was like one that like fucking everybody said.
And I've never heard that, or it didn't stick with me. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think I had friends who like love this. Like, because in high school, like everybody was like into Napoleon Dynamite, and I'm like, ooh, I don't want to watch this for that reason. And then I eventually watched it. I was like, I can't finish this movie. Like, that is very much not my speed. But that was a movie that like everybody quoted. This, I don't think was the case, and I think it might just be because it came out when I was changing groups of friends, essentially, right?
Makes sense. Yeah.
Joe, any other notes? Brian, any other notes?
No, I wrapped them all up.
Yeah, I mean...
I do love this movie. I'm glad Brian picked it. I watch it quite a bit.
Well, Brian didn't really pick it. He just bullied us into it.
Well, I'm glad Brian bullied us into watching it. I'm glad you finally saw it just because, like, now you just expand your pop culture-ness.
Let me have this one. I'm banned from the next lap, apparently, so let me have this one.
Yeah, what movies are you doing next lap? You're doing 2 movies with us. Hold on. Oh, no, you're doing
0.
A Patreon bonus episode, and you're going to be on a regular Fast and Furious episode. You're fine. You're not banned. You just can't pick one.
There's so you're going to just assign me to a Patreon bonus episode.
Brian,
You like being behind the paywall anyways, bro.
Did I? Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's going to be a second. It's an annual tradition now in the second year next year.
Dark.
It's the only one that I knew from that list. Now I remember. Okay.
All right, let's watch the trailer. So this is posted by our boys, Movie Clips Classic Trailers, has 150,000 views, which feels way low for this, but it was posted just 4 years ago, so I mean, who knows?
You know why I also think it's so low is because I think people just search their favorite scenes.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, nobody watches the trailer. Everybody's just like, oh, what's, like, Talladega Nights blah, blah, blah scene. Okay.
Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, 2006 official trailer 1, Will Ferrell movie, 3, 2, 1, play.
Born in a car.
Yeah, he just wants to go fast.
I liked him also stealing her car when he was like 8 or whatever and using the broom to accelerate.
Yeah, I did like that scene when he's like...
Walker and Texas Ranger, and of course my smoking wife, Carly.
Leslie Bibb from The Babysitter, right, Brian?
Yes. That's how I knew you liked her.
I also remember a lot of different things that I like her in.
But no man stays. Absolutely, ma'am. I'd love to sign your baby. You're not gonna want to wash that forehead.
Oh, I like that he signed Amy Adams' forehead. She's like, no, it's me.
Yeah.
Like, oh, right. Yeah, sorry.
Signing mode.
He's in the wall.
Jean Girard.
I like when he comes up and he goes, when he said Formula Un today, I lost it. Like, just Formula Un.
Ricky Bobby! Help me, Jesus! Help me, Jesus! Help me, Tom Cruise! Tom Cruise, use your witchcraft to get the fire off me!
From the guys who brought you and the 40-year-old virgin.
The doctor told us.
There you go. They got it.
I am so paralyzed! You want to see what my life is?
Oh, we got Michael Clark Duncan, who we have not mentioned, who's very good in his, like, what he needs to do. Like, yeah.
He's amazing.
Him cutting the knife out with another knife was pretty funny.
Yes.
Will Ferrell.
Ricky Bobby is not a thing.
He's great. in this.
Twist the line. What the hell's a fastball?
This isn't the greatest trailer, though. It's got funny scenes, but it's just like...
Yeah.
No, but this is also, like, the easiest movie to market, because it's just like, oh, you like Will Ferrell? Here's a new
Or
Will Ferrell
NASCAR.
movie.
Both of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. They're showing, like, a lot of Will Ferrell shots. Some that aren't even in the movie.
Don't drive with your eyes. You gotta feel the road.
I think one of the reasons I didn't love this movie is just because, like, I feel, and, like, I'm not like drawing a hard and fast line in the sand, but like I just think that like there's a lot of like male energy, and I just think that like my favorite actors in this movie are like Amy Adams and Leslie Bibb, and I'd rather see more of them, you know. And that's not what this movie's trying to do, right? So
no, it's not their target demographic. Oh, I love this Crystal Gale shirt. That's cool. Oh, Cougar.
Control your heart rate! I can't control my heart rate! I got a cougar on me!
yeah. All right.
Yeah, that's not like the trailer's
You would have
funny.
seen the movie no matter what. Yeah.
Exactly. It's almost like they just could have put a poster out and people would have watched the movie anyway.
All right, the Letterboxd game. So for reference sake, Mad Max Fury Road, one of the most popular films on Letterboxd, has seen by 905,000 people. Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, 2006, directed by Adam McKay, starring Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly, Sacha Baron Cohen, Gary Cole, and Leslie Bibb, has been seen by how many people?
Oh, it gotta be monstrous number. 450,000.
I'm gonna go 800,000.
You're both way too high.
10,000.
220,000.
Somewhere between, one more guess, between 20 and 220.
100,000.
150.
136. 136,000 people have seen this movie.
Yes.
I imagine
Average
it would
rating
be
of
like...
3.2.
That's pretty good. Pretty good.
Most common a 3, then a 3.5, then a 4, then a 2.5, then a 2. Real wide gamut on my friends. Past guest of both of our shows, Awesome Wolf Something gave it 4.5 stars. Past guest of both our shows, Caragala Reekin gave it 1.5 stars. So
that checks out.
Out of those 136,000 people, how many have this in their top 4? And you know that there's at least one, because the line was like, can someone tell me how this works? I just want to get grilling or whatever, which I really wish that they had a better top 4, but they did not. So how many people have this in their top 4 favorite movies of all time?
200.
Nah, it's a ton. That's way too many, I think. I think I'm going to go like 15.
50.
Brian's first guess was closest, but you're still too low.
200? More than 200?
Where too low at that? Okay. 500.
Nah.
No, you were close. I said you were close. Don't get crazy.
225. Yeah.
227.
Okay,
227
that's a
people.
ton.
No, I felt like that. I felt like that's right. Yeah.
I looked through probably like 120 of these because I'm just like, I can't find any that are like even remotely fun to play. I found 3 that are like the closest that I can get. So pick a number 1, 2, or 3. We're gonna play one of those.
2.
We're going to Justin Joyce Justin at Justin Joyce. Okay, here we go. This is a good one. The last movie he saw, F9, 3 stars. Was excited to see the newest installment of my favorite movie franchise. I thought there was no way they could top the previous film. I was right. Very predictable and very unrealistic. I mean, even more than the others. The movie wasn't great, but it was for sure entertaining. 3 out of 5 on the grounds that I still enjoyed it despite its downfalls. I'm only reading that because it's about F9, also because he did not review Talladega Nights. So it's his 4th favorite movie of all time, but Justin did not review Talladega Nights. But his top 3 are all 3 huge movies, including his number 1 movie from his favorite franchise.
Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift.
No.
The first one.
No.
Furious 7.
No.
Fast 5.
Yes.
Okay.
Fast 5 number 1, Talladega Nights number 4. Now these other 2, I would say, have nothing to do with either of those movies. One I know we have had before. The other one I don't think we've ever had before, which actually kind of surprises me that we've never had this other movie in the top 4. The first one, I will say, is one of, I think, 3 movies ever to win the Big 5 Academy Awards, which I'm guessing Brian might know the answer to this. But Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Screenplay. There's only been 3 movies ever, and I gave this clue the last time, and it still took you and whoever the guest was forever to get it, and I still don't think you got it. From the 90s.
Oh, from the 90s.
And the other one is from the 80s.
Okay, so this one...
The one from the 90s that won the Big 5 Academy Awards has been seen by 900,000 people. The one from the 80s has been seen by 400,000 people.
Okay, so I know... I'm going to take a stab in the dark because I know
It's not Mad Max Fury Road.
No, that's from like 5 years ago. That's not from 91 or 87.
So I know Hanks... I know Hanks and Zemeckis won for Forrest Gump, so I'm going to say Forrest Gump.
No.
No? Okay. That wasn't a 5er?
No, I don't know what that won.
Because I know Zemeckis and Hanks... And it won Best Picture, so I just don't know.
It won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Screenplay. It was not nominated for Best Actress.
Oh, okay. I wasn't thinking about that. That's a good call.
Jessica Lange won that year for Blue Sky.
Gotcha.
I will say, though...
Silence of the Lambs, right?
Yeah, Silence of the Lambs, 1991.
Okay. Yes, that's major trivia. There.
So that's one that we had before. This other one is a huge movie.
Okay,
that
80s,
that I think... maybe possibly Brian could qualify for your show. I don't know that it largely doesn't, but in a sense, not the right sense, but in a sense, the main character might be in high school. I don't know, but the movie's not about him.
Have I covered this film in any?
No, I don't know. I don't know that it would qualify. You have not covered this film. That's what I'm saying. I think it could. Okay. It could technically.
More clues.
So 2 actors in it. One was in Forrest Gump. And one was a director that I mentioned earlier. 1987, 400,000 people have seen it. It's in 7,000 people's top 4, which is why I'm surprised.
7,000 people's top 4.
Mm-hmm.
1987 is a big year for films.
Like for, Silence of the Lambs, 12,000 people. Ricky Bobby, 200 people.
Yeah, but this is 4,000. Yeah.
Genres, this is going to give it away.
What?
There's 5 genres. I will slowly work my way up. Family.
Okay.
Comedy, romance, adventure.
This is going to give it away. I mean, there's so...
Fantasy.
Oh, The Princess Bride?
Princess Bride.
That makes us... Okay.
Yeah, you're right. Once you said fantasy.
Robin Wright. from Forrest Gump, Christopher Guest.
Yep.
Aforementioned director. And I don't know if it would qualify. Fred Savage's character is probably in high school or about that.
Yeah, but you definitely can't. You're right.
You could, but it'd be like, come on, Brian. Like, there's other movies to cover.
Yes.
Like Clueless.
I've covered that, Joey.
I know. I'm kidding. So I want to play one more game because last week on The Fate of the Furious, we did Boy, Do We Have a Podcast for You.
Yes.
Brian,
Community
out of the
chest.
kindness of his heart, donated one tweet to charity, and I will just spoil that tweet got some points. So I don't believe Brian's actual tweet got points. So we're going to play another round of Boy, Do We Have a Podcast for You.
Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Come and check out our show. Yeah.
So for people listening for the first time, this is where we go on twitter.com, aka the Bird app, find any tweet from anybody who might like the podcast. We just respond to them with, boy, do we have a podcast for you, and send the link to the page. But I do want to say there's a couple other pieces of business from last time. So last episode, we were talking about Taylor Lautner,
Yes.
right, as Dom, and Brian was like, would you ask him? We're like, yeah, of course. So two things there. Number one, the MCU in its multiverse phase, why don't we have a Fast and Furious multiverse where he just is Dom, right? Like, he doesn't have to be Dom's cousin. He could just be Dom.
Oh.
Everybody could be Dom. Let everybody be Dom. But the other thing, and Brian, I don't know if you know this, we've talked about this on the podcast before, and I don't know how this happens. He was in the running for Mr. Nobody. Not for Little Nobody, but for Mr. Nobody
What?
in Furious 7.
What?
I don't know if that's real or not. That's reported on the
IMDb
internet.
Trivia. Yeah,
But
whatever.
while you find tweets, I'm going to review last episode's picks. So, I found Aaron Warner's biggest fan, parentheses, real, at Adam Carlson lover. So if Fate of the Furious was a submarine and F9 was a rocket, what is 1011 going to be? And I said, time machine. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. And Aaron Warner's biggest fan liked it. So I get 1 point.
Nice.
Not bad.
No, not bad at all.
I'm up to 35 and a half.
Okay.
Joe, you found VP Sunshine Princess at Sunshine Princess, Fast and Furious franchise rankings. She does her rankings and says Tej and Roman need a spinoff. We said we love your rankings. We definitely agree that Tej and Roman need a spinoff. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Nothing. I feel like I've gotten like 2 points in the last 10 games. I feel like you've gotten no points. We're both on historic cold streaks, but you're on an especially historic cold streak.
I know, and it's not because I'm picking super weird shit. It's
no, it's bad luck in a game filled with bad luck.
Yeah.
Brian, you found Stuart Parsons at We All Screwed, tweeting at Vane and Emrod and The Rock. When do we get Fast and Furious where Toretto gets hit by a car while walking his dog? Goes to the afterlife, has to win races to come back for revenge, only to find it's Hobbs' grandmother that had a stroke while on her Sunday drive. And we said, Stuart, dogs should never die in the Fast and Furious franchise, much like Han never did. Boy, do a podcast for you. Nothing.
That's sad.
But then, Brian.
That was a good one.
You found, for charity, Arthur D. at Arthur Dufour. Next in F10, we learned that Maggie Smith plays Dom Toretto's grandma. She forced him to have some broccoli when he was a kid and he didn't like it at all. Now he wants vengeance. We said, I guess the broccoli must have been as bad as the tuna at Toretto's Market Cafe. Boy, do a podcast for you. And Arthur responded, just said, love the effort, but it's going to be a hard no from me. I ain't never going to get back the 2 hours and 30 I lost watching F9. So basically, you got 5 points for charity for him saying, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. It was I like this reply, though. It was nice.
That's why I play for charity. I put the charitable ones before mine.
I found a great tweet. Are you guys ready for this one?
Yep.
I'm ready. Go ahead. I got one, too.
I found Frank Alcorn at Frank Alcorn 4. I need a Fast and Furious movie with Will Ferrell as the villain involving an intense golf cart chase.
Oh, we absolutely have a podcast for you.
I'm going to say, if you ain't first, you're last. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Joe, Brian, are you going to play for charity tonight, or are you not playing for charity?
Yes, I sent 2 tweets in.
Mine is Lily at _Lily. Being in the car with my mom while she drives is like being part of the Fast and Furious sequel with a sprinkle of Talladega Nights. I wanted to do what I don't know what to do with my hands, but
I'm gonna say when our moms start driving like that, we don't know what to do with our hands.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you for the tie-in. I appreciate it.
Cool. So Lily. Good luck. Godspeed. So now, Brian, which one are you playing for yourself?
So I'm playing this one for myself. It's by someone named Frisbee.
Okay.
With the money sign. That's cool.
Yes, Frisbee with a money sign. And it says Talladega Nights 2 is going to suck without Paul Walker. I don't understand it. I don't get it, but since
I get it.
It might be dark, so I'm just going to pick that one for me and not for Charity.
Sure.
I don't even know what I want to say there. I'd be like, well, any good advice, guys, on this one?
You could do what Joey said to you, like you gonna go to Talladega without saying goodbye or something
that's
along
good.
these lines.
You thought you could go to Talladega without saying goodbye?
Yes.
Yeah, that was for the people behind the scenes when Brian was getting close to the hotel. His wife, his beautiful wife, Nicole, who was finally on the podcast, on his podcast, talking about Hocus Pocus. I hope he'll be back for Hocus Pocus 2. Filmed him driving, sitting there. I thought it was like planned, but you said on the radio was "See you again."
Yeah, it was on the radio.
And I said, you thought you could go to city that you're in without saying goodbye? Boy, do we. A podcast for Nicole. All right, now, Brian.
I certainly hope Nicole will be on the Hocus Pocus 2 episode. It's not looking good right now. She's currently leering at me from the bed as she wants this episode to end. So
you have 3 minutes left. So here we just Brian, please. Now for the charity one, I'm going to let you either just play straight or you want to gamble the 5 points from last time. You can go up to 25 points.
I'm not going to gamble charity money. I'm not going to gamble charity money. Come on.
Okay, coward. Okay.
If it was my money, I would gamble.
Hit us with this.
All right, is chill with the feedback. Black, we don't need that. It's a reply to someone named Ms. Cream. And Ms. Cream said, what's a movie that's very popular that you hate? I'll go. First Men in Black. Really dislike the movie. So chill with the feedback. Black, we don't need that, has replied, anything Harry Potter, Twilight, Fast and Furious, anything with Will Ferrell without John C. Reilly. So don't agree with all that there, but I felt like we need to comment on that.
So what do you want to say?
Though I agree, John C. Reilly makes anything with Will Ferrell better. Fast and Furious, Twilight, and some Harry Potter is dope.
It is dope.
Boy, do we have a podcast for you.
Boy, do we. I'm going to put in parentheses, probably not on the podcast. I do like that if you get a reply, it's going to be like, I don't want this. Your charity is just like,
alone.
Yeah.
Well, it's working for charity so far.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for joining us. We will let you get on with your evening on the city and state that you're in that we're still not disclosing for legal reasons.
You can disclose.
Do you want to plug anything?
Yeah, I'm going to disclose it. I'm in Portland, Oregon right now, was just in Seattle, Washington. And I mention it because I bought a 6-pack of Rainier beer.
Oh.
It means something because that's the beer that Charlie drinks in Twilight. I'm drinking that 6-pack, and I'm seeing some Twilight stuff here. So, Joe, when you're on our Twilight Forever episode again, we'll talk about the Twilight stuff I saw. Literally was driving on the highway, and there was a sign in a small little town that said Twilight was filmed here. So, that's how serious they take it here. But no, just having a nice little safe, good vacation, seeing some nature, and listen to High School Slumber Party. When does this come out?
Tuesday.
So according
episode 250 will be out.
Episode 250 will be out.
Celebration episode.
I mean, we'll talk a
and
little.
251 will also be out because you're going to have, like we talked about last time, right? It's the craft episodes. The Craft Legacy, and on the following Friday, we have a movie I haven't seen. Ryan Stick of the Ryan Stick Show is going to be on the podcast, and the movie is called Dance of the Dead. Oh, I don't think I've seen that, but I've heard of that. Dance of the Dead will be covering on this spooky October. Cool. Well, Brian, thank you so much. Apologies to Nicole for, sequestering you, but we tried to be as flexible as we could with this, and them's the breaks. Next week, though, we have Hobbs and Shaw coming at you. But for all things Too Fast, Too Forever, you go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFastTooForever, or at TooFastTooForever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon at TooFastTooForever.com, our store, TooFastTooForever.shop. Come back next week for Hobbs and Shaw, aforementioned, and go check out High School Slumber Party for Dance of the Dead and all the craft movies you can handle. I'm Joey Lewandowski. I'm Joe, too. And I'm in trouble with my wife. And we'll tell you all about it
when we see you again.